Hello and good morning. It's the 25th day of January 2018. My name is Solis Rose Quarter. Welcome to New Day. We're starting off with some news this morning. Thanks for staying with us. Don't forget that you can always get interactive with us via our social media platforms, TV3 Ghana on Facebook as well as Twitter. Let's start off this morning with the story. And the two former Guantanamo Bay detainees, Mahmoud Umar Mohammed bin Atef and Khalid Mohammed Salih Al-Dubi, are to stay in Ghana as refugees. Now, the agreement covering their stay in Ghana expired on January 6, but in a statement to Parliament Wednesday, the Foreign Affairs Minister said no exit arrangement was originally discussed between Ghana and the United States to end the bilateral arrangement at the time of the negotiation.
The two former Guantanamo Bay detainees have been in the country for 2 years. Their stay expired on January 6, 2018. There were calls on government to make their fate known. The Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayokobotwi told Parliament the two ex-detainees who have been in Ghana with their families have been of good behavior. She, however, revealed they have become the responsibility of the country because discussions with the U.S. government revealed there was no agreement on their return.
It is to be noted that no exit arrangements were originally discussed between the two governments to end the bilateral arrangements at the time of negotiation. The U.S. has also been clear in our discussions with them that per the agreement, returning them to the United States is not an option open to discussion or negotiation. This means that all obligations relating to the two subjects has now become the responsibility of Ghana.
The minister indicated government is constrained under the circumstances to explore other options but will await an in-depth examination of the matter by the appropriate agencies.
Mr. Speaker, in exploring options open to government, we have hit two hurdles. The first hurdle being that the agreement that was signed between the previous government and the United States stipulates that, and I quote, the government of Ghana is to take measures to facilitate the integration of Mr. bin Atef and Mr. Al-Dubi into Ghanaian society, unquote. What this means is that while the United States obligations end after 2 years, Ghana's obligations continue even after that. In addition, and even more significant, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Interior has informed my ministry of records at the Refugee Board, which revealed that the government at the time granted the two detainees refugee status.
Mahmoud Omar Mohammed bin Atef and Khalid Mohammed Salih Al-Dubi were brought to Ghana in 2016 after having been in detention at Guantanamo Bay for 14 years after being linked with the terrorist group Al-Qaeda, but were brought for 2 years.
Now, let's still stay on this issue because the minority in Parliament has asked government to revoke the Refugees Act if it cannot host the two ex-Guantanamo Bay detainees as refugees. Now, this was after the majority MPs insisted the NDC government's arrangement will make it difficult to send the two ex-detainees back home.
MP for North Tongue and the ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, wanted clarification from the Foreign Affairs Minister as to when the two former Guantanamo Bay detainees' status as refugees will expire, since the country's refugees laws are not permanent.
If we are to admit that there was no discussion of an exit strategy, does it mean that in the ensuing discussions with the U.S. authorities, under the new administration, when the agreement was being presented to this House, was there still no discussion for an exit strategy?
The majority maintains it will be difficult to send the two back home, insisting the previous government had hidden certain information from the current government.
You have tied in the hands of the people of Ghana at the back, then you come out in the air shouting as if you knew nothing about it. Meanwhile, you took the decision to make them refugees. You took the decision to make it very difficult for anybody to send them out.
But a government we took over 7 January 2017, the leadership of this country are today telling Parliament and the people of Ghana that the very Gitmo 2, which some of them variously describe as terrorists, they are now only getting to know today that we were granted refugee status. After 1 solid year, you didn't know. 1 year in government, you didn't know, or you didn't want to know. Mr. Speaker, there is a section in the Refugee Act, Section 15, it reads, withdrawal of refugee status. The board may withdraw the recognition of where the board considers that there are reasonable grounds for believing that a person who has been recognized as a refugee should not have been given that status. So, if you have a problem, invoke the law and do what is appropriate. It is within the house. It is within the law. This pretense must stop. This pretense must stop. Revoke it.
It is in July, we are told, July 21st, 2016, that they were accorded refugee status. So one would have expected that in the handing over note, this additional information would have been provided to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. This, unfortunately, was not transmitted. It was not part of the handing over note. And the Honorable Ayariga, I'm quoting his words, he said, there is no reason why the people should remain in this country. If indeed that is true, how do you situate that in the context of the refugee status that the government of yesterday granted them? We can't blow hot and cold. And we should not be playing to the gallery when the facts point to a different direction. We cannot be doing that. I'm happy.
But Minister for National Security Albert Kandapa, who was in the House, urged the MPs to desist from partisan arguments and try to resolve the matter.
The decision to let him go or not does not just rest on government, but on him. The people must agree to go. It changes the whole equation. And these are the two problems that we are facing, which I believe this House should help us to resolve, instead of politicizing it and making statements which to me is not going to help.
Now, away from issues regarding the Gitmo 2, but let's still stay in Parliament. And the 5-member committee probing the seat for cash saga met with the expatriate business community in Camera Tuesday. Spokesperson for the committee, Yawabing Asamoah, says the meeting with the expatriates has changed their investigative work, but he will not disclose the details.
The expatriate business community was expected to appear before the 5-member committee last week but failed to turn up. The committee spokesperson Yawabing Asamoah says they met with the businessmen on Tuesday in Camera.
Even though the allegation appears to have changed somewhat, once we got onto the floor of the House, the motion we are investigating would appear to be slightly different. But we needed to meet the expatriate community anyway, because they are central to the process. Happily, yesterday, several of them turned up. We believe that very soon we will come to the end of the sittings proper, and then we'll deliver our report to the House.
The expatriate businessmen were accused of buying seats to sit close to the president during the expatriate business awards held in Accra. Yawabing Asamoah says the meeting was fruitful.
We had frank discussions. They gave us all the information necessary, and I believe the members of the committee were very satisfied and believe that the report will be ready. We are working diligently. We have a very good staff helping us. Members of the committee are ready to perform. I believe it will be ready.
Still in Parliament, the legislature has received a communication from the presidency with regards to the appointment of Martin Amidu as special prosecutor. In a statement, the president urged Parliament to fast-track Martin Amidu's vetting. The speaker has since referred the letter to the appointment committee.
The Deputy Defense Minister has justified the killing of cattle by security personnel undertaking the Operation Cowleg exercise at Agogo in the Ashanti region. He spoke with our reporter Catherine Frimpoma.
There has been a standoff between farmers and nomadic herdsmen at Agogo over the destruction of farms by cattle for more than 25 years. A Kumasi High Court in 2012 ordered the evacuation of the animals from the area, but the herdsmen did not comply with the directive. About 200 police and military personnel were deployed in Asante Agogo to enforce the directive. Security personnel were advised to defend themselves following attacks by suspected herdsmen. This led to the murder of some herdsmen and hundreds of animals, an act that has been widely condemned.
Security experts have condemned your strategy, that it is not sustainable and it's even against the UN Convention.
Oh, yeah, dear beautiful sister, I advise you to follow the operation. And if a cow is coming to put its horns in between your two thighs and throw you off there, you say that, and the soldier stands looking at you for the cow to do justice to you. That is where you know the difference between protecting you as a civilian and then the soldier as well. Then you as a journalist, then you come by and say, oh, it's against human rights for you to kick him and then save my life. That is what we are saying.
Strategy. Is that the best strategy?
The best strategy is to achieve the aim of defending you.
According to the Deputy Defense Minister, the exercise has been successful.
Please, and a lot of them have moved. Now about 95%, now job is complete in Agogo. So
the exercise has been successful.
Very, very, very successful. Very, 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 very successful.
On the general security situation in the country, he thinks the NPP government has done better compared to the NDC administration.
I'm using the past, and I'm telling you that all those perpetrations were made, all those acts were perpetrated against citizens of Ghana, and nothing was done. Now, something is done. That is the difference, I'm saying. So if I don't refer to the past, what is being done is that seeds that were sown has generated, and therefore we are uprooting the seed by arresting and prosecuting and putting punishment on those who are committing this crime.
Let's stay in the Ashanti region as traders at the newly constructed racecourse market in Kumasi have threatened to return to the streets if the city authority fails to get their colleagues to join them. Now they've accused the KMA of wasting resources since the decongestion exercise has not been successful. Now this is a report by Ibrahim Abubakar.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly embarked on a decongestion exercise earlier this year to rid the streets of petty traders. The renewed drive by KMA was to ease vehicle and human congestion within the central business district. Petty traders and transport operators were relocated to the racecourse market. 2 weeks after the exercise, some petty traders and transport operators are back on the streets. Most of the traders have abandoned the racecourse market. The congestion at the central business district appears to have worsened. The traders at a news conference issued a 1-week ultimatum to KMA to compel all traders and transport operators to move back to the racecourse market.
We are out today sending a signal to the mayor of Kumasi that if he does not come or if he is not proactive, we are going to be active for him, since we cannot be at racecourse here and be losing our mega resources.
They accuse the KMA task force of complicity in the exercise.
At the 30th of this month, if he does not see any improvement, if he does not see the transport operators being relocated to this racecourse here, I'm sending all these ladies back to the street. If that's what KMA wants, we will also do it for them.
They want the assembly to stick to the original plan of relocating traders and transport operators to the racecourse market.
Overall, government has achieved reasonable progress towards implementing some of the promises made in its 2016 manifesto. That's according to Manifesto 2018, an assessment of the MPP's first year in office by Imani Ghana. The policy think tank is, however, cautioning government to be wary of just ticking off promises from a checklist without solving actual problems.
Manifesto is a periodic analytical report by Imani Ghana, a policy think tank that helps to determine the feasibility of manifesto promises, the level of execution of such promises, and its impact on citizens. The exercise, which previously rated government in quantitative terms with marks between 0 and 100%, adopted a qualitative methodology this time around.
What we sought to do qualitatively really was to look at the manifesto promises. So you take every sector, what did the government say it was going to do there? And ultimately, everything cannot be done this year. But the manifesto doesn't tell you what will be done this year and what will not be done this year for all of them. I mean, for some of the things, they gave clear timelines. Others, they didn't. And so it's very difficult to tell what is going to be done in subsequent years. But there's a medium-term development plan which will capture these things. And so we look at the medium-term development plan as well to see if the government is actually thinking that they're going to implement these things over the long term.
The assessment centered on key sector indicators such as the economy, health, education, energy, infrastructure, and governance. The government was assessed based on the 147 economic promises in its manifesto, 73 on governance, 25 on education, 45 on health, 37 on energy, and 73 on infrastructure. According to the report, government has made some progress in achieving the 147 economic promises in 2016. Trade and industry, revenue mobilization, increase in agriculture, job creation, and the One District, One Factory initiative were some of the positive variables that scored high.
I think that's the crux of the message to Ghanaians, that they appear to be on track, but there are things that they need to look at. If not, by the end of the fourth year, we will rather wake up and be laughing on the wrong sides of our mouth.
The restoration of the nursing and teacher trainee allowances and free SHS policy were some of the high points for the government under the education sector. There were, however, concerns on equity versus quality, as well as logistics and financial sustainability.
Now, away from that, the Teachers and Education Workers Union has warned those influencing its members to defect from the union to stop, but because it is finally succeeded in receiving the 3.1 billion cedis pension fund released by government. Now, according to the General Secretary of TEWU, such defections would affect the strength of the union and also undermine the investment portfolio of those who are to retire next year.
It has received numerous complaints from its members that the union is not seeking their welfare and interests. Some members have also threatened to defect and join other unions. The aggrieved members accused their leadership for not facilitating the process of receiving the 3.1 billion cedis pension fund released by government. The members again criticized the entire leadership for the fallout with other members of the 12 labor unions fighting their cause. The similar agitations among members of TEWU compelled leadership of TEWU to warn those influencing their members to defect. The General Secretary, Augustine Kabu, said the union has already received its fair share of the 3.1 billion cedis pension fund.
Our members who are being misled that TEWU is not fighting for you, I want to correct that impression. TEWU has been upbeat and actively involved in these matters, and we have gotten to the final stage that we all need to pat ourselves on our backs and say Ayiko to all of you and to the national leadership too as well.
He again emphasized the amount has currently been invested into the bonds to accrue benefits for retirees.
The regularity or the frequency of the flow is still coming. The last one we received was just December, which reflects the November's one. We are expecting the December one to come in this January, and that is, they have been consistent with that one, and we are excited about that.
Augustine Cabo also asked government to pay penalties accrued due to the delay of the transfer of funds to their fund managers.
The issues of penalties on delays in releases, monthly releases, and the TPFA were specifically addressed within the agreement, and we expect government to make good of those agreements and the content therein.
4 prison officers and 16 civilians were arrested for illegally sending items to prisoners at the Ankafo and Nsawam prisons in 2017. Peter Kwa Doctor reports the 20 were arrested following the vigilance of some prison officers at the 2 prisons.
Last week, 2 convicts in the Ankafo maximum security prison defrauded a woman through mobile money transfer. The news sent this reporter searching for answers, and the revelation was startling. Records show the seizure of a large quantity of items which were in the possession of convicts in both Ankafo and Nsawam prisons, but more so are the people involved in this practice. Between January 8 and December 2017, 2 prison officers were caught at Ankafo, one attempting to send in Indian hemp. He was summarily dismissed and handed over for prosecution on narcotic possession. The other officer sent cigarettes into the prison yard and is currently on service enquiry. 2 officers were apprehended at the Nsawam medium security prison within the same period, one sending money and the other alcohol to convicts. Both officers are facing a service enquiry.
We have some corrupt prison officials.
Indian hemp, among others, concealed in varying food and other items. Right within the same period, 6 visitors were apprehended at the Nsawam prison with assorted items, including phones and their accessories and weed. All these arrests were made based on the ingenuity of some prison officers stationed at the 2 prisons.
At the reception level, they should scan you through, inside out. You should go through a lot of search. In our case, we only do part searching. Part searching is touching parts of your body to be sure something is not concealed. And don't forget, people can even insert things in their bodies.
DSP Vitalis Aye urged the public to desist from illegally sending items to convicts.
In normal prison routine, the first thing you do to anybody coming, whether a prisoner or a visitor, or even officers, is to have them scanned through the system so that any foreign body in them is detected and taken off. We don't have that.
Well, that's all for the news this morning. Many thanks for making time with us. My name is Solis Rose Quartet. Do visit our website, www.3news.com, for more news updates. A new day continues with Johnny and Amma as well. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Solis. So, according to the birth and death registry,
Amma is
let's get to that. Let me just check how you're doing, and good morning.
I am
to you.
wonderful.
Let's say good morning to our lovely viewers. We'll delve into that when it comes to headlines proper.
No,
I don't want us to do touch and go with it. The name is Nanama, just so
and my name is
I can set a pace for my whatever I have to say.
You know me, I don't do touch and go.
We will, because Solis will certainly be leaving us soon. So I just want a good platform for us to discuss it.
But let me give you my full name. It's Solis Rose Nakwale Quarti, and that's what's on my birth certificate and my passport.
If you go to the
I don't think that's even an issue. I mean, the fact that you have Solis Rose and then you have the Nakwale in the middle, I think then for the registry you sort of qualify, it's fine. But we'll come to the actual substantive issue, which I said, like I said, I don't want introduction.
Headline.
That won't give
us the headline.
Give us the headline. The full thing. So we'll certainly.
Good morning, guys. It's Thursday. Welcome and thank you very much for joining us. This is the award-winning morning show, and we're glad that you're part of the conversation every morning from 6 a.m. through to 9 a.m. We're grateful. Today is not going to be any different. It's going to be top-notch production for you. Yes, you're going to enjoy yourself. So get some more ACG credits if you don't have.
But recently, the lights, mentioning ECG, the lights seem to be flickering. Let me not say doom is back, but at least in my area, I've had 2 occasions where I've gone home and the lights have been off, and it comes on maybe like 4 hours later, and I'm just wondering, ECG, good morning.
Mine only happens during the weekend, like every Saturday morning, it just goes off.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, I have no idea.
Maybe your transformer has been set to automatic Saturday.
Reset.
Or maybe they want to be sure if you are home or not. They want
but they can call, do they have start to
No,
take
but if
my
the light
lights,
goes
you know.
off, then you call.
say, why is the light
Yeah,
off?
why is the light off? Then they'll know, oh, there are people there. There are people there. Please put it back on.
Interesting one. But
Anything is
if it's
possible.
Doomsaw in a nice way, just let us know so that we can prepare
But
adequately for it.
Doomsaw, we're told Doomsaw is over. So why are you suggesting that?
Maybe it's a cousin of
technical
if it's Doomsaw in a
fault.
way, maybe cousin.
Oh, there's a technical
in-law.
fault.
Yeah, technical fault. That's what we call it. Technical.
That's for ACG, we are friends. We understand you because
Yeah.
you just sent us a message quickly that
Yeah,
we are sorry for any inconvenience.
Yeah, but I mean, anyway, can we say good morning to Mr. Boacheja?
Please do.
Yeah, Mr. Boacheja, good morning to you, and we hope you're fine.
And I hope no one has ambushed him recently. No journalist
Oh.
has had the opportunity to ambush him. Hope he's doing well. Good morning, sir. But anyway, I guess it's time for us to do headlines now. So,
which one do
Johnny,
you
let's start
with?
with my favorite. Daily Heritage has carried a story very dear to my heart. I'll start off with that. It says, Births and Deaths Registry bans names such as Nana Jr. Also, Afoko lied to police, says the witness. And then finally, Abiman Chiefs disown bomb suspect. So, Johnny, for me, the Births and Deaths Registry, this was something I heard last year, but it seems it's captured the headlines this morning, and so we will chew on it as it is, it deserves. Mr. John Abeko, he's the registrar at the Births and Deaths Registry, and he's issuing a statement saying that names such as Nana, Na, and Junior are considered prefixes and suffixes, and therefore do not qualify to be on the register. I stand to disagree. If I was giving the name which my parents identify is cultural or as traditional, I understand that that is a name they hold dear to. They understand why they gave it to me. And it's a Ghanaian name. It's a cultural name. Everyone identifies with it. I was born on Saturday, and so I'm Ama. I'm Nana because they think I'm a princess, or I am from the royal family. But even that aside, and so certainly if that's the name my parents give me, I don't see why you would think it should be changed. When people give Shakina and Shaniqua and whatever distance to them, we don't relate to it in any way, we accept it. And so I really don't understand. If there's any law that goes to this, I think it's old and it has to be changed. But let's take a break. We'll come back with more. That was just a prelude.
Mr. John Agbeko, good morning to you. Mr. John Agbeko, yeah, we'll come back. We'll have a conversation with you shortly after the break.
Welcome back. So we introduced you to the headline, but just for recap, Daily Heritage says Births and Deaths Registry bans names such as Nana, Na, and Junior. Also, Afoko lied to the police, says the witness. Then finally, Abiman Chiefs disown bomb suspect. Johnny, so let's go back to that Births and Deaths Registry,
well,
banning the names.
I find it very worrying because there are so many other examples in an era where people have been encouraged to choose local names or Ghanaian names or names that are Ghanaian in nature. And then you have this caveat. I've read a full story on page 3 of the Daily Heritage. I haven't seen a single reference to a legal instrument or a law, a piece of regulation that says this is wrong, we cannot do it. Now, if you read the story carefully, Mr. Agbeko, John Agbeko, that's him, is the registrar. He mentions that you can't have titles such as Nina, Dromo, Jomo, Inshira, and so it would straight to Inshiraba, Asida, Ayeyi, all those names that have taken center stage. I must say that perhaps he doesn't know what the parents went through in having the baby, and perhaps how they have longed and waited and prayed and fasted and whatever it is that preceded the coming of that baby. So I want to play the devil's advocate. If somebody, for example, is called Blessing Samuel Ado, okay, that's the name, Blessing Samuel Ado, and his argument is that it has to be Samuel.
You'd have to change it to Chi to
Exactly,
be in the context.
exactly.
So it's Shira Samuel Ado.
So it's Blessing Samuel Ado. That's the name. Now I decided that I don't want Blessing, but I want Inshira or Jomo. That was the Ghana version, or Inshira is the Akan version. So it becomes Inshira Samuel Ado. He says that we can't use that, but the Samuel has to be first, and then Inshira in the middle, and Ado in the end.
Right.
So I see a certain disconnect and ill thinking, if you will, in this particular matter. Why would you be able to accept Blessing Samuel Ado? Because it's English, and Inshira Samuel Ado becomes wrong. How does that add up?
Exactly.
It doesn't add up. In any case, if there's somebody who's, for example, called Prince Michael, he views Prince as a royal title. Now, there's somebody who has used the name Prince Michael for about 40 years, has gone to school, all his certificates and every single document. What happens? They go to sign an affidavit because a certain director of the registry department says we can't accept it.
He says our operations.
And then he mentions that we will, if we continue like this, if we allow people, read a portion.
Let me read it.
I think it's very insulting.
So he said, if we allow ourselves as a nation to give names the way we want, because it is us who have got the child and will want to name the child the way we want, there will come a time that we will have wonderful names in Ghana. So it is just a control measure to make sure that there are moderating factors on us as citizens to direct how our naming should go. That for me sounds very insulting because, Johnny, if you understand, like you said, everyone thinks names are very important and they are characteristic of who you become. Sometimes they actually play a role in where you go. And so for you to just say they name them the way they want, there is some thinking into the naming process. People are named after people, because predecessors or ancestors, because of certain traits those ancestors carried, and they want their children to exemplify same. And so if you say the way we want, and we may have wonderful names, so you're trying to moderate the way it should go. I stand to be corrected because people have Shakira, Shakina, whatever funny names they are. We don't even understand.
Flacusin.
Oh, I've told you that name when you mentioned it. It sounds like an antibiotic. We don't understand where these names originate from, but people have it. Medusa and all manner of names. And you don't have a problem with that. But when I translate it to the local version and decide to give it to my child because I understand where I'm coming from, then you have an issue with it. But if I rearrange it, then you're fine. I don't think you have that directive or you have that right to tell parents how to name their children. I certainly don't think there are more issues at the registry that I feel they should even be concerned about rather than this.
We'll come to the issues, but here's the shocker. I thought that the director of the birth and registry department would know better, because in social anthropology of Africa, naming ceremonies are held for children. Children are named after people. But also, you would have somebody, maybe Percy Agbanu, he outdoors the child, so to speak. So they may adopt the name and give to you. If Percy is alive, and say there is maybe Sewonu Agbanu, okay, and they name the child Sewonu Agbanu. There are two of them alive at this point. So there must be a senior and there must be a junior. If not, in an era where even the births and deaths registry doesn't have a biometric system to start with, how are they able to determine Percy 1 apart from Percy 2?
Maybe they'll accept the 1 and 2. Or A and B.
Oh no, but
I don't take the junior.
You see, that's where I have a problem. You do not know, and you do not have the right to determine how somebody who has gone into. I have 3 English names, and I have people. I have my own set of challenges. But you have 3 local names. I have my own set of challenges. People come to me, and I told them, look, I didn't choose my name. My parents gave me that name, but I don't think that I would want to repeat that when I have my own children. So I want to use a ni or a na or a nana or something like that. Then I get a birth and registry department that says I can't use it because it's a title and a connotation. In any case, Ghanaian societies are considered royal.
They are.
Everybody traces their link to a royal family.
Exactly.
Every single body in Ghana traces their linkage to a royal family. Everybody, whether your family is supposed to be the maid division or servants division in the family, or you're supposed to be the warrior kings in the family, or you're supposed to be whatever. Everybody traces their link to a royal family, and so those names, those titles are deserved. Properly deserved.
Very well deserved.
And the fact that somebody uses Nana or Ni doesn't say that the person is linked to a stool. Who says that it has to be so? It's been that since time immemorial.
Johnny, supposing that was even the issue, if it was a stool name, if it's whatever, is identifiable to a particular traditional council, and so what? That for me was the point. And we know when we go to the British monarchy, we have prince, we have princess, we have duke, we have duchess. Did it change them? Did it change anything about them? No.
So
people are allowed to use this. I don't think they've ever come out to say at the births and deaths registry, if they have prince and you get there and you mention your name, they're going to say, why are you sharing a title with the British monarchy? It's never happened.
In any case,
they're dealing with far advanced issues than that.
In any case, there's, for example, if you go to England, there are people who use prince. They may use Prince Charles, maybe
Earthwood. But there's Prince Charles original.
Exactly.
And they may add a junior to it or whatever it is. Nobody raises questions in any case. And in Ghana, where we have, I can't count the number of sub-chiefs alone in the Greater Accra region. I can't count them.
Almost all of us.
So it doesn't add up. Mr. Agbeko, good morning to you. This is one of the worst decisions that perhaps you have taken. And I think that the parents, the story expresses the frustration of the parents as it is. And you see, you walk in there and then you are told, we can't take it. And I can imagine how the reaction and the relationship, oh, madam, we'll deal with the end to me, yo, but your fuck down, and
so,
and then they just...
I should go and get a new... So I'm just wondering, supposing my name was Nana Inshiraba Ajiman. When I get there, what would they call me? Ajiman, and then that's all.
Maybe they may consider Inshiraba. Or
no, but from that story,
so,
they're not obviously
so
not taking
Inshiraba will go, then you'll be Ajiman. Okay.
Then you've renamed me. If that's how my parents wanted, I'm sure from scratch.
Without all the rites and rituals and ceremony.
Renamed me just for free.
This is not proper.
If there's a law that backs this, then it is outmoded, and we certainly have to rectify that.
I'm saying that supposing, but the man did not make a single reference to a legal document, and that's a problem. A single reference. That names are powerful. Names are important to people. I mean, if you spell my Johnny and you don't spell it well, mine is Johnnni. If you don't spell it well, I'm not so excited about it. I don't get how
Edu was upset about that because people got her name wrong. Names have power. I mean, they have meanings and they hold a certain dignity to the person who has it. If you come and you're just calling someone or writing their name anyhow you want it, that's technically giving the person a new identity. And so it's a big issue. Mr. Abeko, I don't know what your department or your outfit thought when they came out with this directive, but certainly if it's not backed by law, then you should, sit down and rectify it because no one will accept that.
Maybe we should send a petition to the sector minister. So that Mr. Agbeko explains further, because the explanations he is giving and what he's giving so far in the if what is in the daily heritage is anything to go by, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up in any way. And look, I maintain that there are people who have lived in this country for 20, 30, 40 years who have used those names. Nina, Nana, Togbi, all of those names. People have used it. It's on their documents. People, they have had friends who have known them. How do they go back to their friends now and explain to them? It said, oh, so I meet you. I said, Nana Majima. I said, no, I'm Majima now.
Well, he says if you can be called by it, but you just can't have it on your register.
What's the point? So in this era where you travel outside the country, you have your document and you have issues at the immigration office. So you are trying to explain to the person, oh, it's the same person. This is me. For example, I have my documents that says Johnny Perez for Hughes Jr. So they take the junior off my birth certificate and my passport, and I have my certificates. The guys say, what are you doing here? And I say, oh, I'm coming to work. And they says, okay, what's your name? He takes my documents. He's trying to compare the two. And another person comes and says, yo, Johnny Nee. And then I said, Charlie, please don't call me here. I'm trying to solve my problems. How do I fix the issues? How do I fix the issues?
It just doesn't work.
How do you fix the issues?
It just isn't right.
I'm not so excited about it. And, well, maybe if Mr. Agbeko is trying to be remembered for something, this is the wrong thing to want to be remembered for. Because you don't have biometric system. We still have foreigners registering and getting birth certificates in record time while Ghanaians queue for it. We still don't have a properly synchronized system. So there are people who are holding multiple birth registers. They can go and certificates. They can go and register in the Ashanti region and come and register somewhere in Ajape in the Greater Accra region, and nobody knows how these things are synced. Those are critical issues that you should look at, Mr. John Agbeko. That's why I'm sure they put you there. They put you there to be able to fix the system so that your successors will enjoy the work when they come to do. Just like some facilities have been put in place. This clearly is not a priority. Really, banning names like Ni, Na, Nana, what happens? So if the president goes to the birth and death registry to renew his birth certificate, a president is Nana Ado Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So he becomes what? Ado Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
I know he's safe. He has William. He has the English one. So you bring that first, and then Nana can be shielded.
But for a long time, we know the president has this. So if the president, so he becomes, instead of Nana Ado Dankwa Akufo-Addo, he becomes what? Ado Dankwa Akufo-Addo. That's it.
Yes, please.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning to you, Mr. Agbeko. You have done some power. You
have done a lot anyway.
But please, on a more serious note, please revise your notes. This is not good. Please revise your notes. This is not what you want to be remembered for. This is not what you want to be. I'm not excited at all about it. It's not what you want to be remembered for. It's not good. Please change your mind. Renew your mind before it is too late. Good morning.
Good morning. Johnny, if I get more to, maybe we'll just touch on that before we wrap up and do daily rant. I'm surprised because, you know, when Parliament decides to talk and then they are... okay, maybe let me just show it. So, Daily Statement says government rolls out initiative to fight fall army worm. Also, Wa Polytechnic to be renamed after late Liman. Africa Watch exposed. Mahama planned to kill free SHS. And then finally, NDC gave Gitmo 2 a refugee status. The foreign minister reveals. And that happened in Parliament yesterday. But for me, I mean, the thrown back and forth of the minority asking majority that weren't they aware that these two had been given refugee status. I think both of them, when they decide to go into these rebuttals, what I see is child's play, because you've sat on this issue before. If this was a concern of security or whatever issue it was, then you delve deep into it to know exactly under what status these people who we are containing in our country are living. You understand? You want to know, are they refugees? Are they just under UN? What really is their situation that they're with us? But you didn't look into it, and then finally someone comes and says, didn't you know we had given them refugee status? Primarily, what it means for us is if US, we took them under an understanding that it was for 2 years and it's expired, and yet because we're given refugee status, our you know, goodwill has to extend to them sort of temporarily, I mean forever, eternally, perpetually, then that is a big issue for me, because is that what we really understood when we gave them that refugee status? Or we didn't know what the details were and we just gave it, and then that will bring a big issue. Doesn't mean our parliamentarians are selling us short for something. Is it that they don't read between the lines? They don't understand what they do. And so someone comes and says, Johnny, let's just give them refugee. And say, oh, okay, refugee in a cry, it's just a name, so big deal. And then we sign off as that. Is that what happens?
The two, Bin Latif and Adobe, got here in January. Yeah. By June or maybe July, they had refugee status. So we knew what we were doing. Exactly. And I say that, look, when we say we do not have an exit plan, what do we mean? What do we mean when we say we don't have an exit plan? We have accepted the people here. The deal expired on the 6th of January this year. It was for us to take a decision. We realized that they were granted refugee status. So what? So that refugee status is perpetual. It is indelible. We can't take it off.
Unless they decide to sit on it again at your expense.
Yes, but the point is that if we want them to go, we can let them go. Exactly. If we want them to stay, we can let them stay. This argument of no exit plan and it was your fault, it wasn't your fault, and this pull and push, it doesn't. Look, we spent close to how many hours debating this in Parliament?
When the RTI is lying there.
Exactly. The RTI is lying there. In any case, there are children. Yesterday, somebody told me that the Kolebu emergency has only 40 beds. 40. A whole Kolebu, the senior tertiary institution hospital in this country, has only 40 emergency beds. Now, imagine how many emergencies get into Kolebu. And that is why till tomorrow, you go to Kolebu and you find people who have been rushed in an emergency. Maybe they have pneumonia and they are lying on the floor. On the floor. That's a critical issue that we should be concerning ourselves with. And there are people within all these constituencies who are properly represented in Parliament by elected members of Parliament. And this is what we want to do.
Yeah, they'll sit and talk about the Gitmo.
This is what we want to do.
They carry so much weight than all the Ghanaians that are, living and have genuine concerns of unemployment and all these security issues. But we decide to talk about them almost every time.
Look at the Lekma Road, the Teshi Link Road. Look at it. Pregnant women die there every single day. Just because they are pregnant, they want to go and give birth. The road is bumpy, it's jumpy. The situation is all over the country. It's so sad and pathetic. And this is what we want to talk about. We have made up our minds to keep them here. Let's keep them here. But where we want to create the conversation, the minority says, where you said you were going to take them, the majority says, oh, then what happens? then what happens to the people of Ghana, really? And I'm thinking, I've been asking the question and talking to some security analysts and asking the question, do we even have the capacity to keep them here? Or perhaps are we scared that if we send them away, then we will be inviting hatred and everything else? I thought that the very first time we were accepting these people here, we were told that we're accepting them on humanitarian grounds. Did we lose our humanitarianism? If we have not lost it, let's keep it. If we lost it, then let them go. But this whole point of you did it, you didn't do it, and this back and forth, I don't get it. Kolebu has only 40 emergency beds. 40, only 40. Do you know how many emergencies go to Kolebu every single day? Come on. Oh, wow. We can do better. Good morning to all our friends in Parliament and those who are properly elected to go and represent us. Know that the first interest you have is us, not you. Good morning.
Johnny, but finally, maybe let's just touch quickly on the GES investigating the headmaster at Duma. You see, it's funny for me because I think some people have lost the argument of what the real situation was. It's not the fact that, it's not the girl's age. Because for people who have watched the video, clearly it seems as if the girl was into, or the girl has even come to say that it was consensual. So that's not the issue. The issue is between a teacher and a student. And now people are putting in a word that they are not in the same school or whatever. Fair enough, fair deal. If that's the situation, that's fine. But I think primarily the issue is people don't understand that when you're a teacher and there's a student under your care for which you're supposed to produce someone who's going to be of national importance, then certainly you have no right engaging in sexual activity with that student under your care, because what you're doing is you're standing in for a parent. You are supposed to help that child be integrated into the nation as a whole. And so when you start at that age having sexual interactions with them, you're teaching them that it is the right way to go. This is how we do things in Ghana. But certainly that is not how we were trained to do things. And so that is the fundamental issue that we want to outline this morning. It is not right for teachers to have consensual sex relationships with their students in any way.
I'm looking at it. I've heard there's various arguments and even heard Nat's defense,
on it.
And I've been very shocked. Number one, they may not be in the same school, but the schools are all under the Ghana Education Service. That's the first point. The second point is that the teacher or the headmaster is an employee of the state under the Ghana Education Service. The Ghana Education Service has ethical regulations and principles of practice for people who are under their employment or in their employment. Now, did the teacher or headmaster's attitude or his actions in any way flout the regulations, ethics, or whatever it is of the Ghana Education Service? What is the punishment for that? Right. That's a conversation we need to be having, and not whether she was 16 or 18. In any case, I find it quite worrying that somebody pushes in the age of 16. Who was interested in it? Exactly. Was it to create the impression that the girl was raped so that the teacher will be hanged? Or was it later that the age was changed to 20 so that then we will know that she's an adult enough to have consensual sex? In any case, if you're a teacher and there's a girl who is perhaps sexually exposed than everybody else, the reason she's been brought to school is for you to sharpen, shape, and hone the person. If you start devouring, for want of a better expression, the person, you're corrupting the person's morals. What time would the person have to, to shape up?
Unless the education is transmitted sexually.
Sexually, but there's nothing like sexually transmitted education. In any case, if you're a headmaster, who should know better, who should teach the people civics and other stuff, and you will have such an activity, as immoral as it is, and have the guts to record it. The laws are against it. Indecent exposure, and the laws are clear on that. And I'm wondering why the police has not picked up the headmaster as yet for even having such a thing. And
they're investigating, so hopefully we'll get good results.
But his face, investigating what?
The issue.
You have seen the man's face. In other times they will tell you they have not seen the man's face and they are not sure if it is him and all of that. Now you have seen the man's face. So police, what are you doing? Dovsu, what are you doing? What's the point? What's the matter? Are you waiting for another kitchen stool expedition before you act?
Not. Let's put some brakes on it. We'll be back with more here on NewDay. Stay with us.
Welcome. Let's rant at this point with George Queening and the rest of the folks. I'm sure you've heard of the expose between the school teacher and his student, or the headmaster and his student. Well, we'll be ranting about it. George and the folks are out there on the streets sharing their views.
Today on Daily Run, the spotlight is on a development that is making all the headlines. It's the sex scandal between the headmaster of Breman Eduman DA Basic School and a teenager. According to a teenager, it was consensual. And this is one too many cases of head teachers taking advantage of students. And so it questions the educational system, whether the supervisory system is weak. Let's have this discussion. Welcome to Daily Run.
And you say, be a support to say, headmaster no do ye ne Davi. Men support sir. But in actual fact, technology system today, you know, and I'm set things out. Yeah. A idea omoye. A old story to me. During my college days, it was common thing. And according to Ghana law, if somebody is about 16 years, you can marry her. According to Ghana law, she's intelligent enough to make
decisions.
So the training comes from the parents. The parent, if the person is not trained from her house, the teacher or master can take advantage. If you are very beautiful and I want to marry you and I want to take care of you, what do you want again?
Okay, so the thing is, the head teacher has been relieved of his post, and also he's supposed to meet, a two-man committee. And some would say
you should spare him. He should marry the girl, that's all.
Oh, he should marry her? Oh, really?
Yes. If actually, that's the best punishment to give him.
To marry the girl?
To marry the girl. Okay? And let him do his work. Don't punish him. Because the girl is mature enough not to have. You have shown me that this thing. She herself was even doing the thing.
Don't you feel that the supervisory system in the educational sector is weak? Because if it's very active, development like this will never emanate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it happened after school hours. So with the issue of, in terms of the other teachers not really supervising them, I would not want to base on that. And there has been lack of respect these days, to the extent that back in the days when we were young, it is absolutely difficult to even get close to your teacher. When you have even issues in terms of your homework, trying to go close to them for them to solve it, it's absolutely difficult. There was a huge respect for a teacher than a student. But this is the case. I don't want to use the word seduction. I don't want to use that word. Girls, sometimes students in general, feels like they want to do something to impress the teacher. So it gets them attached to them. They look a little more charming. Teachers will like to get close to them. They even sometimes persuade them in a way of going to their offices and stuff. So I think on that aspect, I think the headmaster was, things were so easy for him to get close to the student. That was the reason why.
Okay, back in the day, it was difficult to get close to a teacher. You can't feel free to ask a teacher anything if you are going through something. But like right now, I think maybe the teachers tell the students to feel free, ask them for that kind of interaction. So it made it easier for the headmaster to get close to the students, and this thing happened. So
for a student to go to the highest level to be with the headmaster, I think it's something we should really look out for. Because if a headmaster is to call you to come for you guys to have that sort of interaction, this is not a teacher, this is the headmaster. To the highest level. You see, so that's what I think. I think this thing needs to be tackled very, very well.
Look at this. Oh, they said she's 17 and now she's 20. Either way, she's too young for me. And so why would a young girl, have that consensual agreement, with the head teacher? Because according to the girl, it's consensual. It means they agreed to it. And even they videoed. Is the end time coming?
I think we don't really want to base it on what's happened about a few days ago. There's a perception in town, girls are going out for elderly people. They feel the young guys cannot take care of them. It's one key factor I think we need to look up to. I have that issue when We're not lucky that you find out your girlfriend found out any big man in her way. It's so easy for the man to snap her. So it's a main issue the nation needs to address that. We need to find a moral aspect to it, how girls will feel they need to go for their age mates, and if that thing keeps on going, I think we are about to experience more issues like this.
I think she needs to have this kind of interaction with her parents. I mean, the parents should, tell their girls that they should teach them sex education. So I feel these social medias, telenovelas, and all these things count. Yeah.
We see this, on numerous occasions in the universities. People sleep with professors to get their grades, up there, and get their A class and stuff like that. So I think for me, it's not the right thing. What many people are putting out there in the media is also wrong. Like the song I just said, I just made mention earlier, the sponsor thing. But young ladies are also listening to it. So if they pick something from it, they think that, oh yeah, what Ebony is saying is right. What this person is also saying is right. Because if you are saying I should get myself a sponsor because my boyfriend is not paying, my boyfriend cannot buy me food, but the man can do it. Why don't I follow this headmaster? Because the headmaster can offer me anything. Maybe the teacher cannot offer me, but the headmaster can do it. So I think that is what is also portraying the young ones to also do something like that.
Okay, so GES has to leave the headmaster office position and also is to meet a 2-man disciplinary committee. Is that enough? Let's say, is it punitive enough?
No, I think they need to hit him hard. It should be a little bit harder than what's...
Like imprisonment. Don't forget, it's consensual. It's consensual.
Based on the video, I think it can go to that extent. Because I think there are rules in Ghana which is against sex being videoed. So based on the video, the age it sounds a little bit... there has been... It's conflicting.
Welcome back. Let's get into the news review segment. The Daily Heritage reports that births and deaths registry bans names such as Nana, Na and Junior. Foko lied to police witness and Abiman chiefs disown bomb suspect. Daily Guide says Gitmo 2 now refugee, says minister. So far so good. MPP's performance good. Imani. Bonking headmaster sacked. And NMCOK's GBC boss suspension. Mahama declares war on free SHS. Kenyan Times says, no way. Workers kick against additional salary deductions to fund NHIS. We're ready to deal with crime, lawlessness. Deputy Defense Minister says so. And Gitmo 2 are legal residents in Ghana, as according to the Foreign Affairs Minister. GES investigates case of Central Region sex tape, and Gitmo 2 now refugees. They live with families. Return to the U.S. not an option. That's the Daily Graphic. And national security operatives take over Okapehine's palace. The Daily Statement this morning says government rolls out initiative to fight fall armyworm. Wa Polytechnic to be named after Liman. Africa Watch exposed Mahama plan to kill free SHS, and NDC gave 2 Gitmo refugee status. Finally, on the front page of the Business Finder, EU backs Ghana beyond aid agenda, promises more trade and investments. My guest this morning, Richard Asante of the MPP. Rich, good morning, and how are you doing? Grateful. Everything fine? Nice. And Mohammed Seydou Fita is here on the behalf of the NDC. Chief, good morning. How are you doing? Good morning. It's the first time I'm meeting you.
Yes, sure.
And I understand you're a medical student.
Yes, sure.
Okay. How are you doing? New Year resolutions, he's had his bite already. You have any New Year resolutions?
Yes, good morning to you. Good morning to your cherished viewers, especially members of the NDC in the Tolon constituency, Northern Region. New Year resolutions, I think that when the new year comes in, we just thank God for the past, and we pray that He give us a good way in the present. I really don't have resolutions. I leave everything to God. I work hard, keep so focused, and believe that by the end of the year, I'll be able to achieve something better, appreciate it, and then work towards the next year. So that's my New Year resolution. I don't really project something down, because God decides at the end of the day. We'll just keep pushing and see how God will take us through.
Let's talk Gitmo 2, and I'll start with you, Richard, on this one. Yesterday, the Foreign Affairs Minister was in Parliament. She says that, well, the people are not terrorists and refugees, as has been said, but now they have refugee status. That was what was granted them, and that an exit plan was not put in place. Are we going back on our words? Is the NPP going back on its words? Because the charge that, well, when we come, these people will go and all of that. What changed?
Good morning to you, and good morning to your amazing viewers. I think we are literally misquoting the MPP when we put the issues in that perspective. I think we need to let the Ghanaians understand our comments during the period.
What did you
say? Our comments were the fact that, one, if you wanted to bring such individuals into the country, you needed to do a broader consultation, including bringing it before the members of parliament, the people's representative, and get their input into whatever decision that you were making. The then NDC government thought that what we were saying was not right. We equally were quite livid about the fact that, I mean, the people were brought into the country without we knowing what was going on, and their status and whatever it is that they were doing out, and the reasons for which they had been arrested and being kept in Guantanamo Bay. I think the difficulty with the NDC and the way they are pushing this issue is that all the things that we spoke about, the Supreme Court literally endorsed, because we know Nana Boachi and another elderly woman took it to court, and the court affirmed that our point was right, that it needed to be sent to Parliament for Parliament to rectify sin.
And that was done.
That wasn't done.
And that was done later.
No, it wasn't done at all. It wasn't done.
Parliament didn't ratify.
So,
they
did not. I'm talking about the NDC administration did not go to Parliament for parliamentary ratification.
Right.
They didn't do that.
But subsequently, your government has done that.
Oh, if you allow me. So those were the difficulty we had with the whole arrangement, that we ought to do the things in the rightful manner. And secondly, we're kept in the dark, especially the good people of the country. What was the status of these people when they were being brought into the country? Now the information that is coming out states to the fact that these people were given refugee status. So once they've been given refugee status, they are going to live as refugees. It's like these Liberians and their situation.
And you're saying your party didn't know?
We didn't know all these things. Nobody knew about it. I mean, remember those times, even within the NDC hierarchy themselves, the then Attorney General, Madam Emerita, didn't seem to know anything about it. When the then Foreign Minister, Madam Hanatete, was equally confronted by the media, she had absolutely no idea. She said she didn't know anything about it. So it does appear that the only person who knew anything about these people, the arrangement, was the president. And those information were not made available to the people. So when this MPP government took over, we decided to check everything. And finally we realized that even the passport given to them and whatever visas and clearance that was granted them was given to them at the background of these people being refugees. And when they came in within the NDC era, they were given opportunity to marry here, lived here, conducted other affairs. We are even told that there are certain NDC officials who were at some of the one of them's wedding. What it is that
you are not sure about that.
I'm sure. I'm certain about it. They've gotten married in this country. It's known fact. I'm sure you are aware of it.
I'm sure they are married, but yeah. I'm not too sure if
I'm certain about it. You say you do not know,
right.
But I'm certain.
But you are certain.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know for sure. So the point is that if all these things have been done, making the people to be individuals, that we need to accept them as a country, as refugees, what else was NDC expecting the MPP government to do? Ours was to go to Parliament and let Parliament have input into it, and put before Parliament what the NDC refused to do. So we went before Parliament and brought the issues up and let Parliament understand and appreciate what they represent the people. And when they go to their constituents, they can equally point out to them that these are the various difficulties, these are the issues that were kept from us, were kept in the dark as far as these things were concerned. Now we've come to know, we have the full facts, and based on the facts that is available to us, it is most likely looking impossible to send these people to Yemen, where there is, at the moment, you can't call Yemen as a country, because it's a place that is seriously in a war zone, where you cannot return these people to those areas. So based on the UN Convention, if a country is in such situation, and you grant them their citizen clearance into your country under the status of refugees, until those walls and other things that is making the place uninhabitable are resolved. We cannot return these people to the place. So what it is? So all these things were far complete as far as the NDC government and the decisions that they took in the past. So I'm sure that MPP, what we are going to do is that we continue to monitor the activities, monitor them. So far, for the period that they've been in the country, they have not caused any havoc. The only thing they've done is by getting married and making babies in this country. I mean, they are increasing the population and other things. But then
does that worry you?
Oh, I mean, it doesn't really worry me much. Okay. I'm sure that, I mean, they are human beings. I mean, taking women and wanting to, I mean, whatever it is, we are just watching them. Yeah, watching the space.
Yeah, watching. Anyway, I thank you very much. Mohammed, take a bite on this one. The Foreign Affairs Minister says that there was no exit plan and that it's impossible at this point to send them back.
I was shocked listening to the Minister of Foreign Affairs yesterday in Parliament with regards to the issue of the 2 illegal detainees at the Guantanamo Bay.
Are they illegal?
Yeah, illegal.
They have
because they were illegal detainees in the US, in the Guantanamo Bay. They were there for 14 good years without any prosecution. And so the US government wanted to shut down the Guantanamo Bay.
Right.
And Ghana was part of the countries that decided to take these detainees based on compassionate, humanitarian grounds. And the MPP came out to make a lot of noise about them, making issues that to look as if they were a threat to national security. It took even people like the National Chief Imam to come out to tell Ghanaians that, look, let's accept these young men, let's put them under surveillance, and when they are posing danger to the country, then we can take them back. And when Mrs. Hanatete, the then former, Miss Hanatete, the then Minister of Foreign Affairs, when we received these detainees, and if you allow me, I'll read this. She said, at the request of the U.S. government, we have also agreed to accept 2 detainees of Yemeni origin who were detained in Guantanamo Bay, but who have been cleared of any involvement in any terrorist activities and are being released. And let me go to the end. They are unable to return to Yemen at the moment, and we have indicated our readiness to accept them for a period of 2 years, after which they may leave the country. They may. That was a caveat that was used to mean that these people could, in future, be given a refugee status.
6 months down the line, they were granted that refugee status.
Exactly. So it means that even in her first statement,
he added an information to
yes, I'm taking it from him.
Please. Yes. So 6 months that they were even in January.
Even the day she came with,
by June, they had a refugee status.
The day she even came out with a statement, she gave us a clue that this young man could be given refugee status. Be it as it may, if they are given refugee status, the MPP went back to court. Because the 2 citizens who went to court are known MPP members.
They didn't go back.
Oh, they went to, but they are citizens, but they are members of the MPP.
Richard, I beg you.
Why are MPP members not citizens of Ghana? Is that what you are saying?
Make progress.
They went to the court, and the court passed a verdict that this young man should be sent back to their country on the 6th of January. And so
all ratification be done in Parliament.
Oh, that ratification was done.
All ratification, that was what
the ratification was done by Parliament to accept them.
There were
into
2
the country.
options available.
Yeah.
One, they be sent back, or you ratify and keep them here. That was the verdict.
But the MPP nuance was more on they being sent back to their country.
But the court's decision.
The court. Exactly. So they can agree. They can agree to take them back to their country. You can revoke the powers of the refugee board.
We don't do that.
That article.
UN conventions.
Why Article 72 and 75(2)?
Richard, allow him to make
Article 75(2) has that powers more than the board of the refugees to send them back to their country. I'm very happy he's saying that their country, there's a lot of chaos, and for now we can't negotiate with their government.
There's not a government there. We're told
they could have known this better. Today, the MPP is playing the ostrich.
Please, Richard, yes.
As if these men are now responsible. That they can live with us, and I was so surprised.
They say you created this avoidable mess. That's the.
Let's agree that we created a mess by giving them the refugee status. But from the beginning, we made Ghanaians aware that these young men are not posing any security threat to our country, because they were put under surveillance, and we're going to make sure that we watch their moves, where and how. So, and this MPP, they were trying to make people feel as if that John Dramani Mahama, he accepted these people by taking money from the US government before. all this propaganda today, people are seeing.
There was nothing like that.
There was nothing like that. Sure. Oh, why? Do you have any evidence to prove that?
So forward march. This is it. We're told there's no exit plan. Is that the case? No exit plan at all for these two. Is that the case?
Yesterday, the same foreign affairs minister in parliament said that they are looking at other options. They've spoken to 2 countries, which names he was not ready to mention, based on security grounds. And she said they are looking at another country. If they agree, then they can send these people to those countries. But that is also based on the consent of these two refugees.
Right.
If they agree, then you can send them to a different country. But if they agree not, you can push them out. Let's agree that, look, at one time or the other, issues like this will come up. If people are detained in a prison for no crime committed, and at the end of the day, the US government wants to give them to other countries. In fact, we're not the only country that accepted these detainees. Some other countries also did. But there was no noise coming from there. At the period, the MPP was making a whole lot of noise about this. It made us look as if we're not friendly.
Could we have avoided this back and forth? Could we have?
I mean, what's the danger in taking refugees into our country? Is this the first time? We have even people who are citizens and they are more dangerous than these 2 refugees. So issues like this, I don't think it should be making a lot of noise about it. We have more bigger problems in this country than the issue of these detainees, which could have been avoided. I mean, if we had not made a lot of noise about it, I'm not sure we would have been discussing it today. The MPP made a whole lot of noise about it, a lot of propaganda about it, to make the former president look so bad in the face of people. I mean, we can move forward. I think that they are now swallowing the humble pie to say that they are of good behavior and it is better for us to live with them. But to kill that mischief of propaganda heroes, I mean, how can MPP, NDC members attend a wedding of these 2 detainees? I mean, come on, let's raise the bar. Let's raise the bar.
He said they didn't attend. He said they didn't attend the wedding. But
I mean,
who attended the wedding? Richard, hold on.
I don't want us to.
Richard, hold on. Richard, hold on.
I don't want us to dilute it with just a simple
Richard, hold on.
Richard, hold on.
Richard, hold on. Richard, hold on. Who and who attended the wedding?
I'm saying that I don't want to dilute the government of this discussion based on wedding and who and who.
But you're making.
I made it in just to let you know that
it was in jest.
It was in jest in the country.
It was in jest.
But let me supply other information. You see, there's a serious issue of perjury that we need to look at. When Madam Anatete, the then foreign minister, visited Parliament, she was under oath. And virtually all the information that she supplied to Parliament had turned out to be false. And these are serious issues.
You are not sure about that?
No, I'm certain. I'm very certain.
You are not sure about that?
The majority in Parliament have raised issues about that. The kind of information she supplied when she came before Parliament. I remember then Mr. Fritz Bafo.
Fritz
Bafo. Who was also one of the prominent persons.
MP for Ablekuma.
Raised issues about the fact that Parliament as an institution had no knowledge about the whole arrangement. The difficulties with it. NDC brought these people under the cover of this, under some mercy that all of a sudden they've gotten. And the fact that they thought that they needed to be more pious than the Pope and went out there and brought these people to this country. Before they exited, before the 2 years that they've allowed the people to stay in the country elapsed, they've gone ahead to guarantee them refugee status. And when people are given refugee status, the only way under our laws, the only way you can send those people back is when they flout the laws of the country. And so far they haven't. The other arrangement that the MPP government is trying to do as a responsible government is to see whether we can get another country that is interested in accepting these people. I mean, let's just be here and just speak truth to power and understand that there are basic things that went wrong in time past. Well, we know our president who have gone out there to bring funds to build UDS, who have gone out there to bring money to help in construction of N1 highway and all that. But we don't go out there bringing people who are in such situation. If US thought that these people are genius, they are engineers who could help build any country, how come they didn't keep them? and they were looking for places to dump them.
Okay.
So at the end of the day,
We'll wrap up.
I mean, these issues have come back to in full circle, and we are being faced with the realities, and the deeds of the NDC have come is catching up with them. And some of us will be pushing that Madam Anatete should be invited back to Parliament to answer questions as to the kind of information she supplied, though she was under oath. How come she did not make it clear to Parliament that these people have been granted refugee status? How come certain basic information that ought to be known to the good people of this country were shredded in secrecy? These are the very important issues that Ghanaians are raising.
Will you rather put the blame at the doorstep of Parliament for perhaps not pushing and asking for the questions and the answers rather than singling out Madame Hanatete? Would you rather?
See, the issues are that Parliament can only come in and officially comment on issues and deal with it and have full facts when issues are brought before them.
But if the minister at the time
invites you and you lie, and later on they come to realize that indeed under oath you lied, that is perjury, and that's a criminal offense. And based on that, this woman, Madame Anatete, ought to be invited before Parliament.
So you want her to be hanged?
Oh, she has to be. See, we cannot continue to perpetuate illegality. We cannot continue to allow people to go out there and spit in the face of Parliament. It's an august institution. We need to show them some level of respect.
Hey, Mohammed.
If the people representative ask you to appear before them and present them with information, you ought to be there and do same. But you don't go out there and fabricate stories and tell them untruth.
But you also sound so confident about this fabrication.
And I know for a fact.
Sorry.
And I think the majority
but you have not presented any document to say that. Because the things that Madame Hanatete said in Parliament are being quoted. Some are being quoted now by Madame Shelley Ayokobotwe.
I'm sure you can easily cross-check. In terms of parliamentary hazard, on the day, it's a record activities or whatever happens in Parliament on a given day. When you pick the hazard, the day she appeared, the kind of responses she gave, the answers she provided, the analysis that she was making. Now, it turns out that all the things that she was saying, most of them were untrue.
And I'm saying that Shelley Ayokobotwe has been quoting some portions of what
I'm saying that that's what I'm saying, some of them.
But you are saying all the things. Anyway.
Obviously, you can't say all the things because indeed there were human beings in the country. And she admitted that there are two people. So if the two people were brought from Yemen, you can't say it's untrue that these people were brought from the US and they are Yemeni citizens.
Thank you very much.
Those facts are basic.
Let Mohammed have
the aspect that we expected her to be clear to Ghanaians that what is the status of these people in the country. She should have made it obvious to Parliament that
you have had enough time on this one. I'm grateful. Mo, take a bite. Take a bite. You see, when you're having time, you don't complain. But when somebody has time, then you start complaining. Mo.
The NPP is now struggling today to stand by the words they used in the past. And it is coming back to haunt them. You see, he's being speculative here. A lot of the statements made in Parliament by Mrs. Hanatete are the same statements that the current minister is quoting. She never said, nobody asked her any question concerning the fact that whether they were granted refugee status or not, and she denied it. In fact, what I read to you earlier, I came with a caveat. She said that they may, after the 2 years, expire their stay in Ghana, and the government would take the next action. She was saying this knowing at the back of her mind that we could lose the election or win it. And if we are going to win, what will be the next step? Today, we lost the election and the NPP is now in power. They were crying so much about this young man. And they have the power. You can't tell me there's no power to revoke their citizenship in Ghana today as refugees. You can revoke it, and they have the power. So they should go ahead and do it and stop blaming the past for whatever was done. Look, the past is gone and we are now in the present. They were making a lot of noise yesterday, as if we made a lot of mistakes and when they come, they will correct it. They have the power and they have everything at their disposal. They should correct the wrongs. If we think that Mrs. Hanatete made a mistake and Miss Hanatete, she committed perjury, they can invite her. And I am telling you, if they invite her, they are going to change their story again, just as they've changed it today. Yesterday, when I listened to the minister, she said reports she has received from her sources shows that they are of good behavior. These were the same things we were saying, that these young men are not posing any security threat to our country. And they were saying, no, And indeed, the issues they were bringing on top of it was to make the former president, as I stated earlier, look so bad in the eyes of people that he took money from the American president before accepting these people. Today, the facts are clear. They can go and check. Nobody is now talking about the issue of taking money before bringing them in. So the NPP can do something better about this than sitting at one place complaining and saying that we have tied their hands. Release yourself. You have that power to release yourself and do what is right.
Is it that easy? Is it that easy to release yourself?
They thought it was easy to just refuse refugees into the country.
I thank you very much. Let's go to page 9 of the Daily Guide newspaper. The Imani Ghana says, so far so good, MPP's performance. I'll start with you. Imani is giving you credit, but on the back of that, they're saying that you're scored low in getting the right balance between taxation and revenue mobilization, tax cut and revenue mobilization. What do you say to that? I think that's the spine of any economy.
Thank you very much. I think as a government, our attitude is to listen to criticisms, especially constructive ones that will help in the forward movement of our country and in building our country. Our attitude is to allow individuals to express their views and opinions on matters of national interest, and including organizations and civil society, because we do respect them, because we do believe that they have a very critical role to play in our infant democracy. And when we talk about civil society organization, I'm sure Imani is one of the prominent ones out there. And so whatever, anytime that they speak or they come out with criticisms and also praises, we take both the highs and the lows and try to make sure that we make the necessary changes to see how we can better our performance in any sector that they might raise issues about. I've been looking at and reading the report, and yesterday listening to them on our sister station. It does appear that they gave the government extremely high marks in most of the areas. Their issues or difficulties were the fact that this government has given a lot of tax concessions free. Certain individuals have received, sectors have received tax cuts. Remember, these Kaya years were given. They were prevented from paying levies to the various assemblies. We know that government literally took import duty from raw materials and machineries that you are bringing to the country. We know that other sectors where people were supposed to pay other huge taxes, government has taken making effort in making sure that these are reduced to make the lives of the people better. Even looking at even this year, government is further going ahead to look at how we can reduce electricity and other areas. So at the end of the day, they see that government is busily trying to reduce all these taxes with the overall objective of wanting to create the enabling environment for private sector to grow or to thrive. Because at the end, the MPP, our belief is in the private sector that create the enabling environment, let them create the needed jobs, let them flourish. When they grow, government can then find a way of increasing its tax revenue, because we've done that before. Because I remember when in the Kufros era, when we came in, corporate taxes were hoping around, I think 30 or 35%, that stands to be corrected. But the government brought it to, I think, 25%.
That's why Imani has a problem. That if you cut the taxes, it affects your revenue.
That's what I'm saying, that when government did that during President Kufuor's era, what it did was that it rather increased our tax revenue, because then people were motivated to go and pay taxes. Companies who otherwise were struggling were able to readjust.
Is that the case now? That
in
people
this
are
scenario,
motivated
yes,
to pay?
We are having more. What people haven't realized is that we set a huge target for ourselves, and that target we're not able to meet it. But in terms of the projections and in terms of the amounts realized compared to what was realized in 2016, it was 18% better. Are you getting me?
Why were you not able to meet the target?
So we set very ambitious targets, because that is what we wanted to do. You didn't want to set any mediocre targets thinking that we just want to do it and continue tickling ourselves. That
somebody would say that when a government comes up, the first thing they do is to try and stabilize the economy before they move into development. But you're trying to juxtapose both.
I think what we've done is that this year especially, we saw the government trying to go into paperless. trying to
You mean
formalize
last year?
Last year, yeah, trying to formalize the economy through this paperless system at the port, looking at the Registrar General's department, trying to formalize the area, passport, other areas that people are supposed to do business. We try to make sure that things are done properly. When you go to GIPC, better things were being done. So we're getting a lot more inflows into the country. At the end of the day, when you listen to AG and you look at the industry growth, the growth of industry has literally quadrupled compared to 2016. So it gives you the impression that indeed something better is being done by this government. Beyond the tax issues that they raised, all the other areas that they spoke about, they gave the government high marks on the government's ability to confront the difficulty of implementing the free education, but yet brought it and find a solution to the various teething difficulties that people are raising.
They mentioned a very critical area. I'm interested that, well, politicians will always put out their manifesto, but they never put timelines to it. For example, the one district, one factory, we've been told so many times that it was going to start. Hold on. The one district, one factory, and that's, I'm quoting Imani's Patrick Stevens here. Yeah. The one district, one factory, for example, we've been told how many times it's going to roll out. I remember just at the beginning of January, Dr. Baumia had mentioned that we will start it. That was the third time I'd heard that particular statement. Rolling it over and over again.
I think in terms of the timelines for our manifesto promises or pledges, it is constitutional. Every government, once given opportunity, have 4-year mandate.
But
it is specified in the constitution.
But
that is the time frame.
Agreed.
So our manifesto is supposed to be implemented within 4-year period.
So we're told it is overgrown. It's
no, don't worry. And I think what I needed, I was giving you the information. What the government needed to do was to assist the company set up a plant where they will start processing and adding value to it. Government had gone ahead to guarantee them funds representing about $7 million.
We're yet to see a single block laid there.
You see,
Mohammed,
my brother,
you have enough time. I'm grateful.
If you say something, I need to supply with information.
But Richard,
because you see,
it's a fact. We've not had a single block
for
there.
Food. It has started. When was the last time? When was the last time?
There are blocks there.
The one was the last time we checked.
Thank you.
And beyond that,
Richard, I thank you very much.
Planting for food and jobs.
And the implementation of the policies that they promised the good people of Ghana. And they started with the issue of economy. You see, we are in a country where an opposition party that was very strong about issues of economy and the performance of the cedi against the dollar. And I remember Dr. Baumes describing the cedi running more than the dollar, like Usain Bolt. He used the Usain Bolt, example, and said the dollar was running. By which time a dollar was going for 3 cedi 70 pesos. Today.
Which country was that?
Today.
Please, allow him to make his point. Yes.
Businessman is never true. And then this is with 3 cedis.
Well,
can we make progress, Mohammed?
A dollar was going for 3 cedi 70 pesos. Today, a dollar is going for 4 cedi 55 pesos. And indeed, before today, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia came out and mentioned clearly on national television that we can ask Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He made that statement. And he said he has given the key to the
I'm asking
IGP.
you, did the cedi escape?
I mean, where are we today? Where are we today? A dollar is going for 4 cedi 55 pesos. The cedi is escaping more now than before. Go and buy fuel at the pump. Give them 100 Ghana cedi. They give you 11 liters. You can't use it for 4 days. That is how the good people of Ghana feel the economy. That is how they feel. And not coming to throw figures out.
So Imani is not being what? No. It's not being forthright? Is that what you say?
They didn't give them high points. You go to economy, they didn't give them 70%.
Right.
They come to the issue of job creation. The NPP promised graduates that after Osafo Mafo and these friends and family people got their employments, they came out and said the public sector is now full. And they can only get themselves fixed in private sector. Do you think it is easy to get into the private sector if you have no money? Do you think these students or the graduates, they would have been sitting in the house expecting government to employ them if they had money to go into private businesses? And today, they want people to come out and clap for them for failing the good people of Ghana. Let's go to the issue of one district, one factory. When Nana Akufo-Addo, the president, His Excellency, came to power, I remember he was going to other African countries to thank them for coming for his inauguration. He went with Honorable Alan Charamantin, the trade minister, to Togo. I listened to him, and he mentioned that the one district, one factory is not going to be like the factories we expect. There are going to be factories of what you can produce in your district or locality.
Closeness to the raw materials.
Exactly. For instance, I come from a Hausa Zongo area. And what we manufacture, how do we? You need money to export them. Of course. Why? Is the government coming to take it free from you and export them?
Make your point, please.
Even those who make the sandals, they are not even using them. Those who make the sandals. So today when you look around, you look at the government and you ask yourself, what really they were promising us? Is it what they intend to do today? You go to the issue of agriculture.
Where Imani scored them very high marks there.
I didn't know what they used. And my good friend here is saying that...
It says that agrics increased the GDP contribution by from 33.9% in 2016 to 7% in 2017.
How?
Imani did their calculations.
How is it done?
Partly due to the rollout of the initiative.
How is it done? When Northern region, we are still nursing wounds of this army worm infestation. And when we came out complaining, a deputy minister of agriculture came out and said that we are lying to the government to take money. When he could have easily sent journalists to come down to the ground to see what was happening. He came out and called us liars.
He resigned.
Of course, but that has not turned the worst of the minister. So when you are saying this to the ordinary person in the northern region, that the government has performed very well in agriculture, they look at you and laugh. Because we are still nursing our injuries. We found there was army fall infestation. You came out and come on. It is the responsibility of government to solve the problems of the people. Are you going to tell me that if armed robbers are attacking me today and I'm crying for security, the government shouldn't come because I expose myself to a security threat?
Told Parliament, and the Hansard captured it, that the army worm has been defeated. He was emphatic.
The farms were defeated, rather.
You're saying otherwise.
The farms were defeated, rather. The farms were defeated. If soldiers go to war and they are done with their enemies, don't they go home? And can you say that because the enemies are no more alive? I mean, let's get serious and let's come to the issue of governance. Let's come to the issue of governance. And they said they are rating MPP good when it comes to issues of governance, coupled with all these vigilante attacks, etc. When the youth of a party can go to a national security coordinator, drag him on stairs, and when they were arrested and taken to court, their colleagues came to the court, they attacked the judges and lawyers in the court and freed them on video. And when they went,
the court ruled.
That is the funny aspect of it. That's the funny aspect of it. If you can go and attack a judge and a lawyer, and they charge you 18,000, then anybody at all who have that amount of money can go and do anything at all and walk away. I think more punishment should have been meted to these young men than what they gave to them.
Let's talk about the failures that Imani spoke about. They spoke about the fact that the government sought low in terms of tax cuts and revenue generation.
Can I land with the issue of education? You see, they talked about the issue of implementation of fee-free. We shouldn't just look at it on the paper value. Okay? We talk about congestion. First of all, if you are bringing a policy, there should be a policy document. And my friend is aware that there's no policy document. Oh. There's no policy document.
We're told the policy document is ready to be taken to be taken to Parliament.
So it is not in Parliament. There's no policy document for fee-free. There's no policy. Oh, but he just mentioned it to you that they said it is ready. A policy document ready to be sent to Parliament is different from a policy document being in place. In the first place, the policy document should have been there before you roll out the policy. That's the purpose of policy documents, and not to start the policy and come back. Oh, please. Richard, when you were talking, I was silent. You didn't put honey in my mouth.
Mohammed, go on.
Okay.
Mohammed, go on.
The point is clear. Look, the government.
And wrap up for me.
The government should have taken serious consideration of accommodation of these students.
Right.
Today, you can come to a school in Tamale, for instance, like Tamasco, for instance. They have 800 students. 800 students admitted, and when you go to one class, you can have 9. At the end of the day, you bring fee-free to make sure you train students. At the end of the day, they pass out and get good grades to move further in education.
The government acknowledges the challenges that you're talking about. And the president says they are moving to
They were even sacking headmasters for bringing out the challenges, especially when headmaster brought the issue of students sitting on bricks. He was fired. Today they are coming back to swallow their own words. And let me add this.
Let's take some messages.
Let me land on this one. Right. health challenges with regards to the issue of fee-free. You know the issue of hepatitis B, for instance. When students are lumped so much in one in one hostel, and hepatitis B, you can only get it through sharing human fluids.
Right.
When it comes to the time of, for instance, in northern region, we are now experiencing Harmattan. When the weather is hot and you produce a lot of sweat, you show it to people. And before your walls get to finish senior high school, you'll be recording a lot of deaths in the system. So the government should have looked at the issue of accommodation, furniture on which students can sit comfortably and learn, and creating more classrooms and train more teachers to take care of the students. You just throw people to schools and you say that you are rolling out a policy. And at the end of the day, what are we recording?
Anyway, let's check out some of your messages here. Suhini Imran in Tamale says, it's not for nothing that Ghana is being touted as the home of hospitality. As far as the continuous stay of the Gitmo 2 does not throwing dust into our eyes. He's struggling to defend the defenseless. They made a lot of noise about the Gitmo 2. Seydou Fita, well done. We're watching you. Johnny, you're waiting for the number. Okay, Omar, kindly call the studio line after the show, and I'll give you the number. I'm grateful. TV3 NewDay, good morning. After 1 year in office, MPP is still fighting corruption. Meanwhile, they cannot point to a single constructive achievement to their credit. More talks, nothing done. MPP, hey, 2020 is just around the corner. Osman Burgesan in Tamale says so. Osman doesn't want to see anything. The system is not helping. Well, we'll come back to the messages shortly. You've had your bite. Let's have a very final conversation.
Just a second. I think my brother's argument about the free education. As a government, we understand that free education is one of the greatest achievements that any government
make your
can
point,
bring
because
to
we don't have time.
Well, let's understand and appreciate that I, as Santiago, sitting here, I would prefer our people being in the classrooms in their thousands to learn and obtain education than being on the street to sell dog chains or turning them into armed robbers on the street. I'm not sure my brother here, his parents saved all the money in the world before he was asked to start school. They were working towards it and resolving problems as and when.
Could we have gotten it better?
I'm sure, especially when I hear our brother from the north speak against free education, I get sad.
Could we have gotten it better?
Our brothers from the north continue to enjoy free education before the. It's so difficult to understand.
Okay, let's move on, gentlemen.
Don't we have university graduates who are armed robbers on the streets?
All the
what are you talking about?
Let's move on.
Free will not stop anyone from being armed robber.
Let's hear from you.
People are university graduates and they are armed robbers.
05082352228. I thank you. Now, in which the headmaster of Edumenu DA Basic School, Robert Sepe, is seen having sex with a young lady believed to be a third-year senior high school student. Although the video shows the two had consensual sex, the headmaster had fled the community since the video reached millions of bits about this particular one. Richard, moral decadence and the issues flowing from same. What do you say?
I think the headmaster didn't do himself any good, because I find it difficult to know that initially when I heard it, I thought he was doing this and somebody went and recorded that. But to come to know that he was the same person who recorded that, and through whatever means, if that video fell in the hands of the general public, is another major difficulty. I think we've had this issue, leakages all over the place, and the difficulty is that for see a headmaster in such situation with a student, it's cause for worry. And I think that GES need to look at it and investigate this. I'm thinking that he didn't help matters. And for what you're saying, now the age of the student is something that is even being argued out there, because obviously if the child is below 18 and thereabout, then you can be talking about...
I'm concerned about why people would have sexual intercourse and record.
That's the point.
It's becoming a worry.
And those times, the era of laptops.
Right.
And funny thing is that these apps and WhatsApp and all those things were not in existence around the time. So you could, what the person did was to just put them on YouTube or somewhere. And it was such a major difficulty. They literally stopped school. because of that. A lot of marriages have been broken because of things like this. Some of them even are flowing from the person's past. But I'm not sure anybody will be able to accept that he sees the wife or a partner, though the person's issues were in the past, video and the nakedness being exposed to the full glory of the general public. It's a major difficulty. No pastors confronting.
This man's face has been seen, and yet we're told he's being investigated at this point. I thought that the police would have picked him up at this point.
I think investigation, they say, is needed. Kid to some one bad child. I mean, go to school and learn. Look at what you're learning.
Mohammed, yes. Are we in trouble? Do we have a time bomb ticking?
Yeah, it is sad. I think the only problem about this issue is about the fact that they recorded the intercourse or whatever it is and sent it out. And when
we are not too sure if they sent it out.
They didn't. When the news first broke out, I took my time to read much about it. And the lady in question came out to say that she was not raped. She's 20 years and the parents are even aware that she's going out with the headmaster. And two, that she recorded the process.
Okay.
And she had a problem with her phone.
Okay.
So she sent the phone to a phone repairer. And then she believed that is the source of the circulation of this video.
Right.
So to mean that
and this video is a year old, by the way.
Yeah, so it means it was not the headmaster, and it was not an intention for them to circulate it. It came out due to an accident, because to say that the headmaster is supposed to be sacked, etc., I don't think that should be the way to go.
What's the GS regulation? What does it say?
I listened to you this morning.
That you are my teacher?
I listened to you this morning. If the teacher is sacked, is the lady also going to be sacked from school? Absolutely not, because we are looking at the lady to be the one who is going to be affected.
I'm saying that according to the GS regulations, the ethical standards, I am your teacher, and so I am supposed to be training and forming you.
Yes.
Now I am getting into the gutter with you.
Yes, as part of their code and ethics, they've not stated anywhere that a teacher cannot marry a student. It is not stated, but the father or the parents are aware that she is going out with a man. I am not in support of this video.
That doesn't constitute
I'm not in support of this video. But I'm just trying to say that, look, we shouldn't blow the issue out of proportion. The fact is that teachers have gone further to marry students who are even at the junior high schools. Okay? And marriage is a process. You have to start courting before you can get into that, situation of marriage. And you can't say it's just that theirs is even out for public consumption. Others are doing even more worse what they are doing.
I'm sure you have done some national service, and Richard as well. The stories we have heard about national service personnel who get to villages who are supposed to be teaching, and they end.
When we were doing our community research, third trimester full practical program at the UDS, you could go to a community and you see students impregnating the wives of assemblymen and chiefs and running away. I mean, this is common. It's happening. Though it is not good, but it's happening. So this is not the first time.
What can we do? Let's wrap up. What can we do?
What is about yourself? I mean, you inculcate this moral something into your mind, and not to involve yourself in situations like this. For instance, I mean, this lady, she has been in a long-standing relationship with the teacher. They didn't just start it yesterday. As you mentioned earlier, the video is even 1 year old today.
Exactly.
It means they dated for a longer period of time. And what I think we should do now is to sit them down. Let's counsel them. We shouldn't be chasing the teacher as if, I mean, he's someone who has done something that has never been happened before.
I thank you very much. I thank you, Richard. I thank you. You have been smiling all through this conversation. It's
interesting. The point is that, like you said, I think even there are members of parliament who were caught in similar webs.
Right.
Though videos were not leaked, but like maybe somebody getting involved with a junior AJHS student and all.
It's a national issue. We need to deal with it. Richard Asante, I thank you very much. He's MPP's communication member. Yes, Mohammed.
I want to say special greetings to my constituency, Tolong constituency for Feni, a community in the Tolong constituency. I was not there, and I wish him well.
Okay.
And just pray that maybe in the next live he will be enskined as a bigger chief than
Go
where
home.
he is currently.
Mohammed, go home.
I'll go home.
Go home. When
I'll
they
go
call you, go home.
I'll go home.
The next life.
Mohammed,
when he died,
Mohammed
no,
Seydou
not that.
Fita speaks for the NDC. He is also a medical student who's yet to graduate, 1 year shy
talking about
of that.
reincarnation,
But guys, the Daily Heritage says birth and death registry bans names such as Nana and all of that. Your name Fita. Your name Fita is because your forebears were mechanics,
yes,
and so they had to identify you.
You can't tell me to remove it.
No, they will tell you to remove it. You remove it.
I listened to you when you said we are all royals. So why do you ask me to remove my royal name?
We'll take a break at this point.
We'll tell the president to drop Nana from.
I don't know. Sports is up next. Stay with us here on New Day. We'll be right back with some more.
Good morning, you're back here on New Day. My name is Yao Ofusula. It's time now to do sports. And on to our very first story. Ghana Football Association on Wednesday organized the draw for the 2018 gala, to take place before the commencement of the main Premier League. The gala competition, which was used to usher the season proper, went on hibernation for years, but with the help of Star Times, it has been revived to give clubs the opportunity to warm themselves up for the new season. The GFA Gala is set to be played on the 3rd and the 4th of February 2018 at the Indom Stadium in Elmina. Each of the teams will receive an appearance fees of $2,500, semi-finalists an additional $500, runners-up an additional $1,000, and then the winner takes an additional $2,000 to the $2,500 as appearance fee. Right, so let's go through the fixtures, for the GFA Gala there. And, the fixtures are as follows. Techiman 11 Wonders will take on New Edubiase Football Club. Ebusua Dwarfs will also take on Inter-Allies. Asante Kotoko have a date with the host of the tournament. Elmina Sharks there will be played in their stadium. The Indom Stadium is in Elmina. And then Mediama SC will take on Brekum Chelsea. Vision FC against Wa All Stars. That should be an exciting one. Hearts of Oak against Gero Olympics. That's an Accra derby, which will be staged in Elmina. Always an exciting time when these two sides meet. Bechem United will also face Nia Salamina Football Club, the club that put Kumasi Asante Kotoko through a lot of trouble in the FA Cup last season. And then Samatex will take on freshly minted Galka G8 tournament winners there, Dreams FC. On to more news. And the local organizing committee of the 2018 Women's Cup of Nations say they are on course to stage a successful tournament ahead of the CAF inspection in the next 3 months. Committee chairperson Frida Prempe has been speaking to TV3 about their plans. Months away, but with a CAF inspection due in 3 months, the local organizing committee is determined to get the basics in place as soon as possible. In November this year, 8 women's national teams from across the continent will gather for a tournament that has grown in prestige and stature over the years. LOC chairperson Frida Prempe is in no doubt Ghana will be ready.
I've not given myself 10 months. I've given myself 6 months. Because the next 6 months, we need to get everything in order, everything in shape for the tournament to take off. We have put together a working document to aid us from day 1 till November when the tournament kicks off. We have a marketing campaign strategy here. We are done with our preparatory works. We have message development. We've done with all support women's football, women's empowerment through football, Destination Ghana for the tournament. And we're saying that we all can do it. It's not only women. So it's now a challenge for us to do better up above what they did in Cameroon.
The Accra and Cape Coast Sports Stadiums will host the tournament. While Cape Coast is in great condition, the Accra Sports Stadium, which is due to host the opening and final games, will undergo major renovation work. The LOC chairperson says the focus of the work at the moment on the main stadia and training facilities is to ensure that the pitches are in great condition.
My challenge is how to fix our stadia and the changing rooms, the facilities that we have, because that is the crux of the whole issue. They are going to play on the field. They are going to use training pitches to train in between the times they play the tournament. We need to fix the pitch, we need to fix the floodlights, we need to fix the changing rooms, provide massage tables, the cabinets and everything, repaint the place, change the tiles and everything. So we are going to work very hard, but the onus is on all of us, the media, the government, the ministry, to ensure that we get these facilities back to shape on time.
On to our next story, and Ghana forward David Akam has joined Philadelphia Union from Chicago Fire. The Black Stars forward is confident of hitting the ground running when the season kicks off. Akam says he is determined to repay the faith shown in him by the club.
I don't really see much about Philadelphia, but when I came here and understand how being part of this family is, the welcome from the airports, from the fans from the airports, the fantastic facilities and everyone working here has been good so far. I love it. The culture, the philosophy here, everything, I love it. I think I'm really familiar with this environment. I've played here many times, come to this city, so I think that will help me to settle in quickly. It means I'm not going to be the only one. The defenders will be looking at me. We have a lot of options attack. Sapon, Farfan, they are all really good players. They're 1v1 goal scorers, so for me I'll have enough space to also do my parts. I think I'll make a reference to the philosophy they have here. They have really good academic system, the facilities, and it's the same as Right to Dream. That's where I came from. They develop players from a young age and try to bring them to the first team. And with players like this, they learn a lot from top quality coaches. They are in a professional environment, and that makes them a better player, and even a better human being. I think I have experience both in losing and winning. In my first 2 years in Chicago, we didn't do well, but for me, I still managed to do good things in that team. So last year also one of my best is in MLS. So for me, I have enough experience to bring something to this team. We have enough quality in this team already, so I just need to do my part, and hopefully we'll all click and get the best results. I think that's mostly my qualities, being wide and try to isolate the players and get 1v1. That's my quality, so I think I will fit in perfectly in this system because we play 4-2-3-1, and hopefully I'll get a chance and be 1v1 every time.
A normal, well-planned life. The dementia or the loss in memory has gotten to the point that it now affects their daily lives. They may walk out of the house going to say they are going to buy something. Maybe they are even going to buy food when there's food on the table at home. Once they get out, they find their way, but finding their way back to the house becomes a problem. And they may end up in somebody's house. And if that person has his own home problems, of maybe childbirth or something, you are the witch. It said, yes, I'm the witch. You've been eating my babies. Yes, I'm the one. And then people are called to, we've caught a witch here, and then let's beat them up, burn them, stigmatize them. And then people, for that matter, would want to keep such old people hidden somewhere in the house or take them to faith-based organizations, and then they are stigmatized and treated as if it is their fault. But what we said last week was that it is really not their fault. Nobody can tell their old age how it's going to be like. So we should make our environment or our country or our communities dementia friendly. People should have that awareness that things like this can happen. When it happens to you, how would you want somebody to sympathize with you? How would you want the community to handle you? So if you want to be handled well, because whatever they are doing is not intentional. So if we create that environment, then I'm sure that when I also get this, should in case something like that, I know that, oh, my community is well versed in this. I can be well taken care of.
Very well. So like you said, so now that we know what Alzheimer's is, can you tell us a few underlying causes of this?
Yes. When it comes to Alzheimer's, we say that the cause is really not known. It was actually discovered when people who suffered this kind of history in their lives, they died. They realized that their brain is more shrunk than the normal shrinking of old age. And because of that consistency, the pathologists call it Alzheimer's disease. But apart from that, the reason why everybody should be concerned is the fact that there are other secondary causes of dementia. Alzheimer's is one of the many types of dementia. We have what we call vascular dementia, and that has to do with people with high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, all these things that most people are suffering from. Eventually, these things affect the blood flow to your brain, and therefore, it could so happen that by the time you get to your old age, your brain has been depleted of some nutrients, and therefore you also lose memory. So many things in terms of our dieting. We eat anything anyhow. We are not making sure that we have enough vitamins that actually nourish the brain. And these things would only take effect when you have grown old, that your neurons are not well versed. People get a lot of head trauma. So people have accidents, head trauma here and there. And you know that I again use the example of Muhammad Ali, who had a lot of head battering when he was a boxer. But other boxers are fine. But unfortunately for him, he had suffered Alzheimer's disease or dementia. And again, with those talking about head trauma, he suffered another thing called Parkinson's disease, where the hands will be shaking like this. And these things are things that actually, from the brain, the parts of the brain that, what we call the motor movement. You are a doctor, so you understand.
Yes, I do.
The motor part of the brain gets somewhat deranged, and therefore uncontrolled movements like Parkinson's disease, CJ, mad cow disease, and all these things are things that can feed into. So, into
Dr. Bote, essentially, everybody is a potential Alzheimer's patient.
Potential for dementia. So that's why we need to make our society dementia friendly. Let us understand that. Let's stop beating people. Let's stop stigmatizing the old people when they get there. And I get worried that as a society, how can we let this continue? When somebody is a fine young woman, she's 40 years, fine woman, 60 years, fine woman, and all of a sudden they become witch. I mean, it doesn't gel. So society should know that, no, there is something about these people. The fact that most of them are aged people should mean that there is something happening. And therefore we should sway away from this old African thinking of witchcraft and witchcraft and witchcraft. Otherwise, everybody, most of us will become witches and wizards when we grow old. And you wouldn't want to be treated like the way they are being treated.
So is there any particular way of identifying that this problem that Madame A has is Alzheimer's when they come to your facility?
Yes, I mean, it's possible to get it. Let me tell the story of a woman who was brought in by her daughter. And she came in and she was actually weeping. Fortunately, she has some insight.
Okay.
He said, I don't know what is happening to me. Because I'm a seamstress, I'm a designer, and I'm good at that. Somebody can just describe something to me, and then I can just keep it in memory, sew the thing, and then I was making a lot of money. But over the past few years, now even when I try to sketch the thing down, later I realized that what I sew, the people come and they start complaining. Then over time, her daughter realized that her mommy would be complaining that he's stealing something of hers which she hasn't stolen, or she gives us food and then she goes outside, she's going to look for food, and then she started talking about their home in her brothers in Nigeria. But it's so many stories, and then she told me that something is happening to me. I don't, and more especially the fact that she was losing money. She realized that she's now losing money. Something is going on. So when they spoke, initially they thought it was something spiritual. Somebody's doing something to me.
Certainly,
African thinking. And I was like, no, these are signs of dementia that she may be suffering. Even though hers came much earlier, in the early 60s. And we had a professor who actually would leave home, and he never had insight. He said, no, there's nothing wrong with me. Sometimes they will never accept that there's anything wrong with them. And we said, okay, just follow him, make sure you follow him. He walked all the way, got to a certain house, and then entered the house. He went and took a seat and said he's home. And so we followed up. And if this person had gone to this house early dawn, and then he was saying that
he was flying and
he was flying and falling.
Right. So now that, let's say, I've brought my grandmother, you've identified she has Alzheimer's, what would you tell me? How would I cope with her? Because it's difficult. Many of us are working, and so you can't be around them all the time. So what would you advise?
That's very true. The family cannot handle it alone, especially when the understanding is not there. They become very burdensome on individuals, and especially if it's a working family. So the way out, as is being tried in other places, is caring, having people who have the wherewithal or the know-how in terms of how to handle these people, how to communicate with them, even when they are aggressive, even whatever they go through, spikes and lows, highs and lows. People who understand them know how to handle them. Now, that is what Alzheimer's we do. We have carers who have been trained and also would come in and train a family who have that kind of problem or with any particular person in the family as such. And therefore, if you get in contact with us, then we can arrange, organize, and then come to the homes. We've had several encounters. We've had with several families who have actually confessed to the fact that we never knew it was this until we came in. And now the understanding is that people are now having a more, let me say, a more dignified old age than it used to be, as it were. Those who are chained in their rooms, or they are just locked up in a room all the time, that you won't allow her to go out. She's just in the dark room all the time. Know how to handle them, take them to the park somewhere, take them out, just sit with them, bring them back home. And all these things are part of managing people with this. Sometimes they may have other medical problems. Maybe it was caused by hypertension, maybe caused by people had suffered a stroke before, or diabetes. These things have to be handled alongside as well to get a holistic management of the problem.
Very well. At this point, let me thank Dr. Bote for teaching us a little more about Alzheimer's. I'm sure you also understand it, and certainly if you need help, you can contact him. He's the medical director for HealthNet Medical Center, and he's also the president for the Alzheimer's and Dementia Association of Ghana. We'll certainly let you know his number so that you can contact him. But finally, on entertainment, the actress and producer Yvonne Nelson is back to work after giving birth to her first child. Anthony Jackson was on set with her, where she dished out about motherhood and spilled the tea on her relationship with the media. Let's watch this.
Action! Did my husband come? Oh no. Are you sure? Yep. I didn't see anybody home with Amos. Action!
I'm happy you found out the truth and all that couldn't happen. I can't believe you did this to me. After everything I did for him. It's okay. Don't cry.
Even are you excited to return back to work?
Yep. It's quite exciting. I've been away for a while, so.
How long now?
For, I would say, 8 months.
8 months?
Yes.
8 months.
Because I shot Heels and Sneakers season 3 a couple of months ago. Yeah.
So, what exactly attracted you to this particular script?
A lovely script. You know, it was written by Folake Amanfo, Pascal's wife. So when I read it, I was like, this is something I would love to do. And then I have a very good relationship with the producer. So I was like, yeah, if it's Uche's job, why not? Plus, I've been away for a while, for long. I was pregnant and all, so I also wanted to, get back in style. And also because of the cast members, it's just a whole lot of things put together. I was so looking forward to coming on the set.
The cast? Which
Prince David Osei! Prince David.
Oh, you like working with Prince?
Yeah. And Jackie was also supposed to be a part of it, but I hear she's busy. So yeah, it's a good story, good script, great cast.
What character are you playing?
I am playing Trish, married woman with 2 kids. And I keep nagging, like I'm such a, I don't want to use the word, but I'm always having issues with my husband because I have a very crazy past. And I'm always taking it onto my husband. And we went through therapy, went through counseling, and then it goes on. I'll tell my story in there. Well, I was raped when I was younger, so it really affected me in my marriage.
So was it easy filling the shoes of Trisha?
Yeah. Not because I'm like that, but as an actor, as an actress, when you get a script, you always rehearse. You go through your lines, and then you try and get into character. So when you get on set, it becomes you live that role, that character. So it's quite easy for me.
When the drum of death beats, only its next victim dances to its rhythm. You dare disrespect my royalty? I decree by the voice that you...
I remember Princess Tyra. This particular scene, you were in a car, and I think a group of other ladies brought the other car, and you guys got out, and you had this confrontation.
Yeah.
So from Princess Tyra to raped, how has it been like? Has the journey been smooth? Has it been topsy-turvy? Are there any regrets? Like, What has it been like?
No regrets at all. It's all been a learning process for me. It's been challenging because when I was shooting Princess Tyra, I was in Central University, so I was combining school with acting. And so I remember sometimes, like, I'll be in the lecture hall, I'll have like a producer calling me, like, where are you? I'll go like, oh, I'm on my way, I'm coming. But I'll be in the lecture hall. So I used to have like little fights and arguments with producers all the time. And I said to myself, I'm not going to stop school, I'm not going to defer. I'll make sure that I do the two.
There was an article back when you started that said you were coming to set late and all of that. That could also explain it.
Yes. I knew I was in school. Sometimes when a producer calls me, I'll go like, listen, I've got exams, I've got a quiz, I've got this and that. They go like, oh, no, it's okay. When you're done with lectures, you come. But then I go for lectures and I go on set and it becomes an issue, So they were not really fair to me, but, we did it. And so I did, and I'm here. I graduated a while ago. It's been an experience, I've loved each and every part of it. And I'm happy, I chose this path. I can't see myself doing any other thing apart from acting and producing.
Well, right now you're Yvonne Nelson. It's like when you mention Yvonne Nelson, it's Yvonne Nelson. You go out, people want to take pictures with you, autographs and all of that. Do you like the fame that comes with the name? With the job in particular?
The fame is nice, but sometimes you want your privacy. Like me, all my friends know I hardly go out. Like, I'm not a night person. You wouldn't find me in a nightclub or at parties and stuff like that. I would rather maybe drive out of Accra, go sit by some water body, go to the beach or something. So sometimes you want your privacy and you don't get that. Sometimes I go out without makeup, someone will see me, oh, can I take a picture? And then I go like, oh, please, I don't have, and they don't understand, So it's hard. It's hard when you go out and people want to take pictures and you don't look great, So that's the only...
When you mention privacy, because I don't think we've been fair to celebrities in general.
I believe that the negative stories sell. So, but sometimes you guys overdo it. That's when I have a problem.
How do you deal?
I don't. How do I even put it? Like, I just ignore. If someone is saying something about you and it's not true, don't even waste your energy on the negativity. Just ignore them. The story will die down and then. Another one will come up and you ignore. So keep ignoring. That's what I do. It helps me.
But then I'm getting the sense that you're a very strong personality, to deal with negativity right from the onset, Princess Tyra.
Yeah.
I remember there were so many articles, so many news. Like, they always wanted something to write about you, and usually it was in a negative light. And you're talking about you usually want your privacy and you don't go out. Most of the stories that were coming out were not.
I think people take the roles I play, my characters in movies too seriously, because Yvonne Nelson is always the bad girl. So if you watch me on TV and I'm the bad girl, you'd think I'm a bad girl. You'd, in your mind, you'd think that, okay, you think this girl is always, she's nailing her roles and, she's like always coming across as a very aggressive girl. So then maybe she's like that. So I get that a lot. And that's been my problem when it comes to character-wise. People think I'm like the kind of person, but I'm not really.
Creme de la creme of editors in the fashion industry all want me on their magazine covers.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'll be doing 2 photo shoots in a couple of months, one in Milan, one in Dubai. No, as a matter of fact, 3. Yeah, one in New York City as well.
Okay. How nice.
I know. And you know what? Every girl I know on this planet will die to be me right now.
But when I was coming, Jeffrey Norte. Yeah, I called Jeffrey and was like, oh, I'm going to interview Yvonne tomorrow. This is what I've heard. Jeffrey was like, no, Yvonne is cool.
Yeah.
Yvonne is, so
I pray with him a lot.
I come here and I see you on the set, you're joking with everybody, you're taking pictures.
Yeah.
So at what point do you say, okay, well, it's enough. I can't, I'm just going to deal with this one.
The truth is, I believe the media loves me, okay? If they don't love me, they won't talk about me, so,
And that's my colleague there, Anthony Jackson, having a chat with Yvonne Nelson, feeling so cool. We'll take a break. Second part of that conversation will be up here on NewDay tomorrow, after this break.
Why? Otasigo Chalo. I need my laptop. Need a laptop? Simply download my Vodafone app. Click on Yendiagro, play and win every day. Sometimes it's gonna hurt. Sometimes you don't feel good as you know you'll feel. But this is what you want, and if you want it, you gotta go hard for it. You don't have to stop.
Welcome back. So it's time for us to wrap up. Let's just start off with your messages that came in today. We'll read a few and then...
I'm not sure we
may not have the time to do that.
But
But certainly for those of you who join in the conversation on the name, the names, whether we should take Nani, like my name, maybe you just see me and call me Ama Ajima. But certainly that won't happen because my parents like the Nana Ama Ajiman, and that is it. So certainly they should go and do their homework and come back to us with something better than just taking the names off the registry.
Yesterday, the Australian High Commissioner, Andrew Bands, put out a tweet. I was looking for it to show. Yes, it was very pathetic that our sanitation issues had gotten international recognition. Right. This was the tweet the Australian High Commissioner put out there. It says, the scene this morning in the street near High Commission encouraged the local authorities to step up their support to meet the president at Flagstaff, Ghana, promised to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa by 2020. And that was it. It was so sad. I felt so bad about it. And the thing that we have Minister for Sanitation and all of that. And yes, we have a mayor in Accra. We have other chief executives. And they've told us that, well, this is what they want to do.
Johnny.
I have had my set of challenges. And I would say that I have not seen much of the work that's been done by the sanitation and water minister and the ministry. Somebody tells me that the ministry itself is not being properly set because they have funding issues and all of that. I don't get it, but look at this. International recognition of our sanitation and filth issues.
And the worst place I saw last week was the Tema Station gutters. They are choked.
It's
they
smelly.
Stink. Gosh, and yet AMA seems to be in the hub of all this. So please, let's look at it. And certainly the hawkers around there, do something about it because it's your health at stake as well. But anyway, guys, it's a lovely Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. They take money from there, don't worry.
So hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, Friday, as we walk you into the weekend. Have a blessed day. Go out there and do your best. Give off your best because God expects that of you.
If you like Banco or KK, eat some today. It will do you some good. I'm out of here.
What throwback song did you play?